Science made him a monster. Hello fellow followers and welcome to FanZcene's movie picks and review for the week. Usually I pick a couple movies and do a mini review of one. Today I'm going to do mini reviews of both films because in anticipation of the new DC Universe Swamp Thing TV series that debuts this Friday, May 31st on their streaming service, I'm going to be choosing and mini reviewing Swamp Thing from 1982, written and directed by Wes Craven, and its sequel, The Return of Swamp Thing from 1989. So Swamp Thing is one of my favorite comic book characters. I've enjoyed these movies. I enjoyed his older comics. When Alan Moore took him over, they got a little too existential for me, a little too much environmentalist in there. But I mean, it is Swamp Thing. That's what he's about. But I really enjoyed these movies, and I'm hoping to enjoy the new TV series. So let's dive into these movies. The first up, Swamp Thing stars Ray Wise as Dr. Alec Holland, who becomes the Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing is played by stuntman Dick Durek, and then Adrian Barbeau, who plays Government Agent Cable, and Louis Jordan, who plays the villain Anton Arcane. Dr. Alec Holland is working in the Florida Everglades swamps, trying to solve world hunger with his plants and his experiments, whatnot. And one of a government liaison type person has gone missing, and so Adrian Barbeau's character is sent down there to investigate and help out, see what's going on. She meets and her and Dr. Holland sort of, basically fall in love, and then the paramilitary leader Anton Arcane shows up, and he wants to steal Dr. Holland's experiments and use it for his own personal paramilitary gains and whatnot. And fight breaks out. Dr. Holland becomes the Swamp Thing, and when he comes, and so that he becomes Swamp Thing, and then after that, that's when the action and stuff picks up. Adrian Barbeau is trying to investigate as well too, and he shows up and he saves her a couple times, and then she gets kidnapped by Arcane, and Arcane ends up getting the formula and experiments with it, and Swamp Thing shows up, and he rescues Adrian Barbeau's character, and Arcane has ended up taking the new serum that he's made, and he becomes this like wolf type monster thing because the serum brings out what you are on the inside, so it like augments you that way. And so him and Swamp Thing have a fight. Swamp Thing wins in the end and saves the day. Now, if you're looking for good practical effects, creature costumes, and stuff that looks good, right here's for you. Swamp Thing is really good. Wes Craven did a really good job. He brings this classic direction style to it. There's some horror elements in it, some blood and gore if you're into that stuff as well too. But it's also funny. It's good. It's a good cult classic. If you have not seen this and you're a fan of Swamp Thing and you're excited for the new Swamp Thing TV series, I suggest you check out the first Swamp Thing. Now, if you're looking for a cheesier cult classic with not as good as direction as the first movie, The Return of Swamp Thing, which stars Dick Durek once again reprising his role as the Swamp Thing, and Heather Locklear now playing the niece of the villain from the first movies, his niece Abby Arcane, and then Arcane, Louis Jordan returns as Arcane in this movie, and also Sarah Douglas, who played Ursa in the Superman movies, is in this movie as well. Now, Heather Locklear's character Abby Arcane is the niece of Anton Arcane, and he was married to her mother, and she has passed away, so she's going down there to investigate what happened to her mother. Adrian Barbeau's character does not appear in this movie as well. So Heather Locklear's character goes down to investigate what's going on, get mixed up with the Swamp Thing and everything that's going on, and somehow Anton Arcane has been resurrected by Sarah Douglas, who plays a new doctor who's working with him and in love with him, and has brought him back to life, but he's sicker this time, and he's dying again, and she's trying to find a way to save him by using the swamp formula and everything as well that Dr. Holland created, and so that's going on, and and she's creating a bunch of these unmen, which are like monsters, more monsters, like how Swamp Thing and Arcane was created. Arcane in this movie though is not no longer a unmen, a werewolf looking monster guy. He's just, you know, typical bad guy in this, like a more of a like Lex Luthor type guy in this. You know, and Swamp Thing ends up saving Abby Arcane, and they end up falling in love. And this movie has one of the weirdest, I guess you could call it, sex scenes in this movie between the Swamp Thing and Heather Locklear. I mean, he like gives her this piece of him, and she has this dream and sees him as human, and it's just weird. You'd have to see it for yourself. And there's two little kids in this movie that are absolutely hysterical, and they're funny. They help make the movie a lot, and you know, this movie is a lot more funnier than the first movie. It's a lot more comic booky as well. There's more fights, there's some good action. Once again, the creature effects and practical effects are on point. They're really good. This movie's really good. You know, Swamp Thing ends up saving the girl in the end, fighting the bad guys, destroying them, beating the unmen, and falling in love. And it ends with him and Abby Arcane, who looks like she's becoming like a plant swamp monster like him as well too, running off into the sunset. So if you have not seen these Swamp Thing movies and you want to check them out, I recommend them. I think they're really good. They're funny. They're awesome. They're cheesy. They're cult classics. They're really good. And if you want to check them out before the new Swamp Thing series drops, I suggest you do it. And also, these movies proved to be somewhat popular enough that they actually spawned their own TV series that ran on the USA Network in the early 90s for about 5 seasons. So if you want to check that, if you can find that show, that's hard. That show is actually hard to find. Go ahead and check that out as well too. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not the best, but I try. Have a good day. Please like, comment, subscribe, share below. Let me know what you think. Godspeed, and follow me on Twitter at FanZcene, and thanks for watching.